With October now in our midst, it's time to finally recap all of my favorite things from the beautiful month of September. Chicago gifted us with another month of hot summer weather, so that meant every time I stepped outside, it was sticky and warm, but that's okay because September was a lovely month full of travel. I went to New York again with Penguin Random House. I traveled around the Midwest for wedding festivities for friends and family. It was a month of great thrifting and, of course, great reading. If you've been here before, you know my concept of favorite things is pretty broad. It includes art, experiences, and ideas, along with the objects that I've been obsessing over for the past month. With that in mind, let's get into it. During the month of September, I became really interested in the meaning behind the rituals in our everyday lives. Like clockwork, this happens to me during three pivotal moments throughout the year, the first one being the summer solstice. So every June 20th or 21st, I have this very primal urge to dance around a roaring bonfire or participate in a pagan ritual that probably dates back to the Neolithic time period to celebrate the longest day of sunlight for the entire year. The second is the coming of fall. Maybe it's the chill in the air or the evolutionary need to gather in large human groups in the face of darkness with earlier sunsets, but I find myself ruminating over fall traditions. For the majority of my life, school marked the beginning of fall, and you don't grow out of school year traditions overnight. As a Midwesterner, fall also comes with bonfires, corn mazes, apple picking, and I feel this need to participate in these harvest traditions. The third moment that conjures up strong ritualistic instinct may come as no surprise because it's the important holiday of Christmas. Despite growing up atheist and not being a religious person, Christmas was still a very important holiday in my family. Now that I've gotten older, I've started to see the responsibilities of this holiday pass from the parental figures in my life to me, and I feel a very strong responsibility to uphold these celebratory traditions. With the start of September, I once again found myself contemplating the meaning of ritual, and I decided to dig a little deeper. I turned to a book I read a couple years ago and loved called Cultish by Amanda Montell. It's a book that looks at cults and specifically explores the language of cults and how words can pull you in. The author herself is a linguist by trade, but she also has a personal connection to cults because her father was raised in the religious cult Siew. That's a cult famous for its humiliation rituals where members were encouraged to berate each other in front of each other and point out specific weaknesses and vulnerabilities of each other. Amanda Montell uses her book to explore why cults are simultaneously intriguing and terrifying, and how language can sink its claws into you and cut off critical thinking while also making you feel superior to others. She looks at famous cults like Scientology, Jonestown, and Heaven's Gate, things you've probably heard of, but Amanda also makes an argument that cultish language appears in group fitness classes and multi-level marketing. One of the most interesting points in this book is about how with Christianity in decline, Americans are searching for community and ritual to fill the void. She cites data from 2019 that says 4 in 10 millennials don't identify with any religious affiliation, and this is a nearly 20% jump from 7 years prior. She also writes that being spiritual in this day and age doesn't require God at all. A 2015 study from the Harvard Divinity School named SoulCycle and CrossFit among the groups giving American youth a modern religious identity. Upon rereading, I still love this book. It's the perfect blend of casual, accessible, easy to read nonfiction paired with an academic understanding of a topic. However, it only whetted my appetite, and I knew I had to do more research to find out more on this topic. As I kept looking for more answers, I found this book called Ritual by the cognitive anthropologist Dimitris Xygaladis. I'm only a couple chapters in, but it is fascinating. The book talks about how rituals are just as common today as the distant past, whether that's religious or not. The book shows that ritual is as old as humanity, and there's evidence that rituals can be found even 430,000 years ago with burial ceremonies. He defines rituals as causally opaque, and essentially that means we do these symbolic actions without really knowing if the expected outcome will ever really happen. Rituals vary from habits, where direct action is linked to function. An example of this is brushing our teeth. That's not symbolic in nature. In fact, when we brush our teeth, we know exactly that our teeth will be clean. See, that varies from a symbolic wedding ceremony, where the actions and the things said by the couple and maybe a priest are symbolic in nature and don't actually have any legal consequence, but still remain very important in our lives. Rituals imbue our lives with meaning, and it binds societies together. However, when asked why a ritual is so important to our identity or our culture, it's really hard to verbalize the significance of these actions. This book explores that very topic and those questions, and as I keep reading, I will tell you what I learn. September blessed me with some fabulous secondhand finds, and I want to show you everything. Some of you may not know, but I actually dipped my toes into content creating back in 2017 when I was doing sustainable fashion blogging on Instagram, so this topic is something very important to me. In 2017, I challenged myself to swear off fast fashion for the entire year and only buy clothes secondhand. Fast forward to 2025, younger me would be happy to know that I still primarily only buy secondhand. But as I've evolved on my sustainable fashion journey, I realized more important than anything is curbing consumption. And sometimes that means making mindful, specific choices when buying new. So this September, I went to a consignment store to sell some old clothes, and while I was there, I found this incredible All Saints bag that works as a shoulder bag. And if you undo these clasps and move the buttons, it converts into a crossbody bag. For a long time, I've actually been looking for a bag just this size with a zipper so I can take it on nights out and I can take it to concerts and no little petty thieves can reach in that easily and grab my wallet. That same person must have also sold this amazing wicker bag with these great long shoulder straps, because I've been looking for a huge bag that can hold picnic blankets, a laptop, books while I go out about my day, and I found this fabulous wicker bag for $50. Another great secondhand find is this brown and blue skirt. This is a color combo that ruled my childhood, and I feel like this is an artistic, elevated version of that. My last secondhand gem that I want to show you is truly wild. I got this incredible 80s wedding dress off Depop for my engagement shoot, and it is magnificent. It has this huge bow on the back, and the train is so long I can't even show you all of it on camera. So the reason why I got it is because I've always dreamt of doing an engagement photo shoot that looked like those old 80s Hong Kong wedding photos or something right out of a Wong Kar-wai movie. And when I showed my wedding photographer this concept, she was so excited, and I'm so happy that we're able to bring this concept to life. I scoured the internet looking everywhere from eBay, Goodwill, secondhand wedding dress websites to find the perfect amount of 80s puff sleeve and sparkle that also came in my size. I finally found this amazing dress on Depop, but I was anxious it wouldn't come in time, but it did. Everything worked out. We are shooting in Chinatown in Chicago, and I can't wait to show you the photos when they're ready. My third favorite is seeing Lorde live in Chicago as she tours her new album, Virgin. Lorde is one of the artists of my lifetime, and I'll probably have a spiritual connection to her art for the rest of my life. Lorde is exactly 1 month older than me, and I feel like her music always comes as a premonition or a window into my life at the exact age that I am. If you're curious about my Lorde credentials, I was listening to Love Club and Royals back in 2013. I was listening to Pure Heroine on the bus home from high school with my headphones and my knees pulled up. I was listening to Melodrama as I walked to my summer job in 2017. I was one of the few who actually gave solar power a chance and learned to love the artistic risk and change that Lorde did with that album. And of course, I love Virgin. So Lorde is an artist that has ferried me through my teenage years. She's helped me grasp growing up, and I was so ecstatic to see her in concert when she came to Chicago this September. Her latest album is truly a masterpiece, and when you listen to her raw vulnerability, it really feels like your heart's being cut open and laid out for everyone to see. I actually wore my new All Saints bag to the concert, and I also wore an outfit that does justice to my younger self's Tumblr aspirations. This concert is one of my September favorites because, first of all, Lorde sounded amazing. She performed with a level of freedom and joy that comes from stripping yourself down to your rawest form, performing and dancing around the stage in pretty much just a t-shirt, singing about the evolution of the self, sex, family, and all these really, really vulnerable topics. The set is pretty minimal, and there are a couple contemporary dancers on stage with Lorde. During Buzzcut season, she sings into what looks like a giant fan, and during Supercut, she sings while also running on a treadmill. I feel like that perfectly captures the rush and transcendence that comes with the song, but it's also a song about kind of being trapped and going nowhere, and that really matches well with the treadmill. The concert simultaneously made me feel 12, 28, 16, and 21 years old all at once. The gradual buildup of the songs to these euphoric highs really just made the night so cathartic. I spoke of rituals earlier, and the ritual of singing music in a massive crowd and dancing and flailing to your heart's content is really just what human existence was made for. If time and money allowed for it, I'd go see Lorde live again and again. So during the month of September, I acquired a new beauty item that has become really integral to my makeup routine, and it's actually something that I'm wearing right now on my face. So I've always really struggled with finding a foundation that works for my very dry skin, something that doesn't crack too much, and something that sits really nicely as I wear it throughout the day. And that's why I'm really happy to have found the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Foundation. I wear the color N5, especially at the height of being tan from summer, and I just got N4, which is better for my less tan complexion as we go into fall and winter. I've tried fancy foundations from Sephora. I've tried skin tints, I've tried BB creams and cushion foundations, and I've never really liked anything as much as I like these True Match foundations. So if you've also struggled with finding a foundation that works for you, maybe you should check these out. If you're wondering why my hair is up and I look a little bit more disheveled than before, it's because I actually paused filming my September favorites video to go see a play. I went and saw the play I Wish You Were Here by Sanaz Tusi, and it's a play about these 5 Iranian women living in a suburb in 1978, just as the Islamic Revolution is beginning. It's a story about friendships and getting married, but it's also a story about loss and the people who leave Iran and the people who stay in the face of war. I was actually invited to go see this play by TikToker Jennifer Grace, and she invited me to go see this play with her and a bunch of her friends. She does incredible videos on TikTok about art and culture events in Chicago and the Midwest, and I'm really happy that she brought me along because the play was very moving and I shed a lot of tears. Back to regularly scheduled programming, I'm here to tell you about my last September favorite, and I'm ending on a more serious note. So this past month, I read the memoir Happening by Annie Ernaux, and this is a book that documents the illegal abortion she got in France in the 60s, and it took the air right out of my lungs. This is the kind of book that will stay with you forever, and I'm still haunted by the fact that she was so young and so alone and truly at the mercy of strangers. There's a moment in the story where the memoir takes a turn, and as she's walking up the stairs of a stranger's house and laying on their table, it's impossible for the book not to evoke a bone-chilling physical response from you. Ernaux doesn't shy away from the facts of her story, all the gruesome, distressing details, the doctors who refused to help her, the probe that was stuck up inside her that she walked around with for days, the fact that she almost died bleeding out in her college dorm room. She talks about the way the doctors treated her with very casual cruelty, and how they only started to treat her better when they realized she was a college girl, someone from supposedly a higher socioeconomic background. Annie Ernaux is lucky to be alive. When abortion is illegal, people die. That's a fact. I'm so grateful that Annie lived and that she went on to write down her story. In the book, she even talks about how when abortion is legalized, former victims actually keep quiet because they think the hard part is over. But because of this, a veil of secrecy remains. Annie decided to do something about this by writing this memoir, and she chose to talk about this unforgettable moment in her life. This book is revolutionary in its honesty and its anguish. Access to abortion is a human right, and as Americans, this is more important than ever as an authoritarian government tries to strip us from our rights and our freedoms. With the overturning of Roe v. Wade, access to abortion is harder than ever, and stories like happening by Annie Ernaux are more relevant than ever before. On that note, thank you, dear viewer, for watching. Stay safe, have a wonderful October, and I hope to see you next time.